let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurialism. You're an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of times people are trying to find their inner entrepreneur, right? They're trying to figure it out. Maybe it's something on Etsy part time. Maybe it's something that they're building right now that will start really slow, and when people can make a move, they will. But when it comes to kind of how to fit being an entrepreneur into a life where maybe you aren't an entrepreneur right now but want to be one, what are three suggestions you would give people to tap into their inner entrepreneur to make it a reality over the next 1 week or 10 years?
Number one is the most important thing is finances. Not that I strongly do not recommend anyone just go, I'm going to leave my job and become an entrepreneur. I think you need to, and which is what I've done. So I'm speaking from personal experience. A lot of times you need to make sacrifices on what you're going to do after your 9 to 5. So you come back home from 9 to 5 and whatever your hours are, and you need to go, all right, I'm going to eat dinner, spend time with kids, et cetera, et cetera. But then you need to give some dedicated focus time every day on building on your business. That is number one. The worst thing you could do is leave your job right away. And the reason, and you might say, well, that doesn't make sense. I have enough, runway for a year, savings saved up for a year. That's fantastic. But you want to use those savings saved up for a year that you have when you have de-risked your business enough that it makes sense to do that. I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs go, well, I'm going to leave my job. I have a year's worth of runway. And I told them, please don't, but they do. And you know what? Fine. Good luck to them. And what almost always has happened, actually in all cases, is month 8 comes by and the business hasn't taken off, because building a business is very hard and you really haven't made revenue, or you've made some small amounts of revenue. Still not enough to sustain you. What happens is you start to make business decisions based on your own personal finances, and those decisions are basically like you're worked up into a corner and you just have to make this decision. Otherwise, you're going to run out of money. And chances are you do end up running out of money. And so what I did, and I've done many times, every time I've started a business, is I've had, if I have a day job, great. After like 5, 6 p.m., that's when I'm starting working on my business. Sure, I'll be a bit tired. I'll recover on the weekends. And you kind of do that till you get to business in a spot where you're like, you know what? I can now confidently say that I have like a 60% chance of survival, right? Yeah. Because I see some revenue coming in. I see a path to growth. Maybe it's not recurring revenue, but you know how to, if you spend 4 hours and you make $1,000, then what if you spend 8 hours? Can you make $10,000? If that math calculus starts to work out, then you can start to, take days off work and see if it works out, and then just leave your job. So that's how I've done it. That's how a lot of my friends have done it. And they've been able to grow their businesses because they've de-risked their finances a lot. Yeah. Number 2, honestly, is finding the right setup. Like, how would I describe this? You have to iterate fast. What I mean by right setup is if you start working on something and you go, you know what, like this is the best idea I've ever had, right? But then you quickly realize it's not working. Don't stick to it, right? Start iterating on it. I've seen too many people just countlessly get stuck on one idea and fall in love with it. And then they go, well, I've worked on this for 12 months and nothing's happened. Well, you had 11 or 6 months. You gave your idea 6 months. You had another 6 months to try different ideas, but you kept sticking to the same idea. And I don't mean, you change ideas vastly. What I mean is you start to figure out, in this space that I'm working in, what are different ideas of ways of making money. So if you start selling books, maybe not books, maybe you start, you start selling books, right? Then you're like, okay, well, people aren't buying books. But maybe you go, instead of books, physical books, you look at ebooks. or maybe you look at book publishing. So there's so many things in that space that you can try to tackle, and you can do it very quickly. And you have a full-time job where if you do need some advertising funding, all that stuff, you can, not put a bit of money into savings and start trying that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the third one would be here. Let me try to think.
I would say the third thing could be have the discipline to do something every day to work towards it, have the courage to keep going.
That's it.
And stay consistent and
Yes.
keep it alive. Like the business plan we talked about, keep it alive, right? And don't get discouraged. Don't allow yourself to be discouraged. Do one small thing every day, even if it's 30 to 60 seconds, to keep it in flow. That I think is a thing
you're guaranteed to see failure, like 1,000%. Something's not going to work. I just don't mean failure in terms of the whole business not working, but something you try is not going to work. Maybe you're so committed that if your Etsy store is on TikTok ads, it's going to sell a shit ton, but it doesn't, right? That doesn't mean your business doesn't work. It means you need to go, why did it not work? Analyze it, and then try something else.
Correct.
It's very important you stay committed to, it's not committed to the business idea. It's committed to you being an entrepreneur and the journey that you're committed to.
Well, right? Committed to the feedback and understanding what that means and where it's coming from and how to evolve the nuances of the business. That's what entrepreneurialism, not getting too emotionally connected to the product or the service, but really listening to what the consumer wants and adjusting those small little adjustments that make a huge impact. Where someone says, God, why didn't I think of that? That seems so obvious.
You are not building a business. You are not the customer. Like for most parts, yes, there is a lot of businesses where you are the customer, but you're not paying this business $1 million, right? You need to make $1 million. If you want to make $1 million, you need to figure out what the customers want. Maybe there's a chance that exactly what you wanted, that this product, what works for you, works for everyone else. But there's a great chance that it doesn't. Like think about there's so many products out there. Let's look at TikTok, for example. I never used TikTok. If I would have built TikTok, first of all, I would have been like, yeah, you know what? I probably don't need it. Like I wouldn't use this, so why am I going to build it? But if someone was building TikTok, they did the market research. They found out the exact market that uses TikTok, and they built it for that market. And TikTok is a very successful business. So you have to really think of it that way.
Yeah, I love it.